Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck,
Spiritual as fuck.
where spirituality meets the real world. I'm Liz Volpe, serial entrepreneur, passionate changemaker, and intuitive. I love inspiring people to dream big and create positive change in the world.
I'm Dianne Driscoll, a coach, facilitator, and speaker who uses channeled insights to activate transformation in leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers.
We share real and raw spiritual stories, give you a safe space to challenge what's normal, and have some serious fun along the way.
Come join us as we get spiritual as fuck. Before we launch into today's episode, we would like to announce that tickets are now available for our exclusive Christmas event, a live episode recording with a very special guest, John Holden, better known to you all as Tarot by John. Join us on Monday, 3rd of November at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Time or 8:30 a.m. UK Irish Time. To learn more about John's journey with tarot and be part of a very special live tarot reading experience, where you will get the opportunity to ask a question and receive a personal card pull from John. As with all of our events, tickets are limited and they sell out fast, so get in quick. Event details are all in the show notes. It is unbelievable that the Spiritual as Fuck podcast is 2.5 years old and we have never had an episode dedicated to angels. Well, folks, this is the episode. And who better to speak to than angel medium Dany Michaels? Dany didn't have to wait for a big bang spiritual awakening. He has been able to hear, see, and talk to angels since he was a young child. This has evolved into his life's work as he offers angel readings, angel mentoring, as well as angel therapy sessions and retreats. Dany describes himself as the link. The angels provide the energy, the power, and the guidance. So let's hear what Dany and the angels have to share with us today.
Welcome back, everyone, to yet another episode of Spiritual as Fuck, or AF, as sometimes we call it in front of our parents. So today, first of all, let's just remind you to subscribe if you haven't. We are now on monthly episodes, and I know we've had so many people reaching out saying, when's the next one? When's the next one? So just by subscribing, it will ensure that you get that notification on your phone. So please do that now. Okay, so the excitement is really, really high with this interview. Dianne and I always catch up just a few minutes before meeting a guest, and I'd already said to Dianne, I've got like a really beautiful high excitement around this today. And Dianne agreed. Now, from the very, very beginning of this podcast, you will have heard me share my introduction into all things spiritual, and my beautiful doorway into this was via the angels. As a young 20-year-old, one day, out of nowhere, going through a pretty challenging time, actually, I was literally energetically pulled into a bookshop, and I found myself stood in front of what I found out was an angel oracle deck. And it just magnetized me. I knew, it was strong. I had to buy this deck. And I took that deck home that day and everything changed. I had never heard of angels before that point. They became my absolute best friend, I swear, for years. And honestly, it changed my life. I went through healing. I got so much comfort from those cards and starting to talk out loud, and then witnessing and experiencing tons of signs and synchronicities, and honestly, evidence that they were real was just amazing. So today we do have someone that is here for the angels, on behalf of the angels, and an angel medium. Welcome, Dany Michaels. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about all things angels.
Oh, yes, because your story is so different to, say, how I was introduced to angels, which was, I was already 20. It was by accident. This started way before that for you, didn't it?
Yeah.
Can you kind of go right the way back and, in your own words, share your story and how this came about?
Yeah, so I was born like this. So I was born with these abilities and seeing angels and then seeing dead people. So it was never like it was something that to me, at first, I grew up super Catholic. So at first I was like, am I cursed? Am I,
Yes.
because
No.
I could hear them all the time. I could see them all the time when I was little. It's kind of like a lot of children have imaginary friends, but mine never went away. Like mine were like there all the time, talking to me, never once said anything negative. It was all positive and love and full of joy and peace and love. And it was just something that I was born with, even actually, even before I was born, my mom always talks about experiences she had when she was pregnant with me, like energetic experiences, like,
Oh.
even when she even tells me that the moment that she gave birth to me, she said that the OR lights went out
Oh, Danny.
and then all these people, like she tells me that all the nurses, because she had me at what is like a school hospital,
Mm.
and she says that everyone was fighting to hold me. Like they were all like, let me hold him. And she was like, give me my baby.
Oh my
Um, so it was
gosh.
like that. And then I started having experiences, seeing the angels all the time, talking to me about certain things and the way that I am. And then when I started going and then during church time, because I grew up super Catholic to the point where I was
Mm.
almost a priest because I couldn't relate. There was nothing like this growing up,
Yeah.
no awesome podcasts, nothing like this. So the closest thing was the church, so I was so
Yes.
Catholic. And during when I was little, the angels would tell me like, that's not true. Like whenever the priest would say something or whenever I was reading something, they would be like, no, that's not true. Like, man got it wrong. That's not true from the Bible. Like, don't, like they would tell me yes and no and this and that. Um, and then growing up, just started going through all the changes and then my abilities getting more intense, more sensitive to energy, people. And then at first I started with angels. It wasn't until I was like probably like 10 when I was introduced to dead people. And then, it was just like a different frequency, I call it a different channel. Um,
Mm.
but the angels taught me everything I know. I never took a class or anything like that. I grew up really close with Archangel Michael. I always tell people that's who raised me with everything. So it was a journey that I started like very, very little. So like very alone and my like it was just all it was difficult, but I don't know, like to me it's so normal, it's so normal
Yeah.
to walk around and see angels with people because everyone has angels, and but my angels would tell me like when to say something, when to not, or how to say it sometimes. Like they would be like, don't
Mm.
tell them it comes from us, tell them as advice or something like that. So they took very well care of me. And then, of course, my mom was awesome. My mom was very sensitive also. Not like me, but she believed everything I would tell her. Like she would, believe everything,
Oh,
never questioned it.
She was meant to
And
be your mum, clearly, to, like if
absolutely.
you, had been born into a different family and didn't have that support, it would have shaped you in a different way.
Oh, 100%. Like I was just very blessed, to have her. And so it's been a journey since then. So yeah, like it like the only thing that I can relate, it's like I think around in my 20s is when I started to get more into it as like, okay, let me prep to do this as a living.
Yeah.
But for my entire like growing up, it was just me and the angels, like I would give people advice, people would radiate towards me all the time, and I would tell them how to do this and that, but it was never like clear where it was coming from. It was always like I was just giving people advice, and people would be like, oh, you should be a therapist or a psychologist or
oh,
something.
Or an old
um,
soul.
right. That's pretty much how it started for me though.
Yeah.
Danny, I have to ask because, and I know Liz is the same. I can see both of our eyes lighting up. There's millions of questions we want to ask, but I think, as I grew up Catholic as well, and you think of the symbolism of angels, and especially when you go into some of these magnificent churches, and they're just such a huge presence. What was the difference between what you were seeing as you were growing up and how you associated, okay, this is an angel as I am seeing it, versus
Mhm.
how they are portrayed in the Catholic Church or in other systems? Like, how was there any difference that you were seeing between what was visually in front of you?
Yeah, so I don't see them with bird wings, or like human bodies. To me, they're made up of light energy,
Yeah.
and their heart centers have so much. It's like I always tell people their heart centers are like nuclear plants of energy, of light and love, that it generates so much from their heart center and it spews out of their backs like a fountain of light, which
Oh,
I can see how people can relate that. Like if someone has an experience with something like that, they're going to be like, oh, that's wings, that's bird wings.
Yes.
So I can see how people connected them to them having bird wings and stuff like that. But to me, they're beings of light. It's just that their heart centers radiate light. So it's like a fountain of light that comes out of their backs. Like it's just, and that's how I can see how that can be directed towards bird wings. The only ones that I see more humanly, it's the archangels. Those are the ones that I see, and I'm like, okay, you looked more like how they portray you to be. But what they told me is because that's how they like. I don't know if you guys heard like the terms that they people set for the archangels, like Michael is a blue light, green light. Like
Yes.
they don't,
Sword in
I don't,
hand. Yes, there's
yeah, I
certain
don't see them like
associations.
that. I don't
yeah.
see them like that, but they like to play game with us, so they're like, all right, humanity wants to see me as blue. I'll play, I'll play the game. And so it's kind of like that. So I can see how humans did it, but I don't see them like to me, they look like gold and white light all over their bodies.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like welling up. I feel really emotional listening to this. It's amazing. Um, You mentioned Archangel Michael, and I feel like Archangel Michael is the one that's most spoken about, or maybe that most people have heard about. And there's so many different names of archangels. Can you explain firstly who the archangels genuinely are, and then let's talk about Michael because I feel like he's the big strong one almost that kind of leads us to battle.
Oh yeah.
What's your relationship like?
I'm very different. I always tell people like I grew up Catholic, but I consider myself spiritual, but like I'm still very like old religion. You know what I mean? Like I don't like too
Mm.
much new stuff. I think it takes off and in other ways. But um I've only met four archangels. I know people out there speak about 7, 20. I don't even know,
Mm.
but I've only met four my whole life. And those are the actually four that are mentioned in some sort of reference in scripture, whether it's the Bible or the Book of Enoch or something like that. And those are the only four I like to speak about because I don't really like to talk about anything I don't experience myself.
Mm.
But the archangels are higher energy. They're like an extension of God, and they all have like a category, if you would say, but they all can do everything. So they are higher, more powerful than our regular guardian angels, and they're universal. So they can be with anybody, everybody at once. They can work with everybody. Your own angels only take care of you. Your own team of angels only hang out with you, only take care of you. The archangels go for everybody. And Michael, to me, it's like this big presence of like divine masculine, like the
Mm.
general, like you'll feel his intensity. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people, when you first have encounters with him, you're like, oh, okay, like you're huge, kind
Yeah.
of intimidating a little bit, but it's just he has that protection energy. Like like we're here to take care of business. Like, that's what he kind of does. Um, but it is something like, and those are the only two types of angels I know. I know a lot of people talk about like the seraphim, like all these
Yes.
different ones. To me, it's very human to do that, and these beings are not human. These beings are beings of light and love. So like when you categorize them as like, oh, the seraphim are the closest one or the most powerful, that's too human. It's literally,
Yes.
I've only met two types of angels, and it's the regular and the archangels, and then that's it.
Mm.
I think that when people have different experiences, they want to rename it into something else. But the frequent is, you have to go by the frequency, I feel. But Michael hangs out with you guys a lot. Like I see his energy radiating with both of you.
Hell
You
yes.
know, so so
We
so
feel
that's
it too.
something.
Yeah. Oh,
I keep
that's
seeing his energy like hanging out with you guys a lot. So that means he has a big mission for you guys to kind of fight that battle.
ooh, I
Oh.
like it. Oh, I mean,
Mm.
we definitely talk about Archangel Michael a lot, and I mean, I definitely am speaking to him very regularly with my children and getting them
Mm.
acquainted. So I like that you've seen that. It's interesting that, isn't it, that as humans we suddenly come up with all of these names and it starts to become really complicated because in my eyes there's the archangels and the angels, and then we hear things like the difference of a guardian angel. And the guardian angel is an interesting one, isn't it? Because I always associate the guardian angel with more of a loved one in spirit, which I could
Mm.
be completely wrong. How do you describe a guardian angel?
So to me, dead people are not angels.
Mm.
Dead people have a
Yes.
human frequency to me.
Yeah.
Like when I see, there's a difference between a dead relative and then a spirit guide. There is a
Mhm.
frequency
Mm.
difference, because spirit guides is what we in the Catholic Church would call a saint.
Yeah.
That's a spirit guide, someone that has an
Ah,
ascension of their energy and stuff like that. But angels have never, like, they don't have a human constructed soul. So they don't have that humanity, and their frequency is much higher to, like, for example, when I first started, really, really, like when I was like very little and they started to come through and showing themselves, I would start crying uncontrollably. But not because I was sad, it was because you don't know what to do with their energy. Like you don't know what to do with their energy, that you're like, okay, what do I do? So let me just
oh,
cry. Because their energy overwhelm all your senses in a
mm,
good, positive way. So human spirits don't do that. Human
mm.
spirits, it's more like, okay, there's someone there. Like there's another person looking at me. It's not like this energy that brings forward all of this play, that this frequency, this energy. So to me, they are different. Like angels to
Mm.
me are angels, and then spirits are more like the spirits of the dead, the
Lower
soul.
vibration and
Yeah,
frequency.
not lower, because they're not in a lower frequency. They're just not as high, I would say.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I love how you explain that because it is, I think, and like I know you've come across this when that someone is projecting onto you to say, well, oh, how do you know that they're not demonic? How do you know that they're not
Yeah,
this or that? And it's like, but when you feel something as expansive and full of
Mm.
awe and joy is how you're describing that. And I know I have felt that at times, not in relation to angels, but and the minute you came on screen, I saw, the Sacred Heart photograph, a picture behind you. And, someone brought up as Catholic and then, detached from a lot of the I guess the organized religion around that. But then it's taken a while for almost Jesus' presence to come back into my life in a certain way. But that for me was, oh my gosh, that overwhelming, like
yeah.
tears flooding of joy, and how your whole face just lit up as you said that. And when we experience something like that, that can't possibly be, a denser energy, a lower
Mhm.
frequency, or something that's going
Right.
to do harm. Um, I do know that it was like, obviously Liz and I do our research before these, but I loved you explained on another podcast just about that kind of sense of how you respond to people when they're saying, oh, how do you know that it's not, something, evil? I don't want to use the word evil or demonic or things like that, or lower frequency. It's like, how do you respond to people when they say that to you? Because how you describe your experience of angels is just so beautiful.
Right. That's that I like to call them fake Christians, because they like to follow they think they're doing the right thing, but all they're doing
Yes.
is going against Jesus's teachings. But because they're Christian, they think they're entitled to that, or they think they own Jesus, they think and that's the same thing with religion, like you described, like religion does a big bad thing to us, like a lot of people like go towards something else because of the rules that the silly rules they create to put such a bad rep on God, like that's our father and you want me to fear him. That's our father, and he tells me I'm a sinner. It's like it's crazy to me how they do all
Mm.
this really bad things, um but to me, and that's one of the number one comments that I get from people like that. It's like, they don't even ask me, like they're just like, oh, you're speaking to demons. And I'm like, you clearly don't know what a demon is, because
Mm.
if you did, you wouldn't be, and you would listen to my videos, you would listen to my preachings. That's not what a demon would want me to say. Demons spread lies, and they spread hate, and they spread negativity. That's not something I do. I spread positivity. I spread God and Jesus, which is what Jesus did. Um, and my biggest thing that I tell them and they don't really have an answer is, like, I always ask them, like, do you remember how Jesus died? Do you remember why Jesus died? Because you're doing the same thing to me, like you're
Mm.
kind of judging me and want to like shut me down. And it's the same thing that happened to Jesus. But those people, I think that they're scared of, kind of like, their reality doesn't expand so big.
Yes.
Like they don't know how to manage a reality. They
Mm.
don't know how to manage a God that is so big, so they I think they make themselves very small. But they also forget that, unfortunately, religion is a business. They want your money.
Oh,
They
yeah.
want your money. They don't really
Hmm.
want your worship. They want your money. And I think that that's something that it goes against what Jesus did. Like there's so many things, like Jesus didn't create the church, there was
Yeah.
so many things there. And I think that they forget that, they forget how the rules, like they forget history, they forget all these things. Um, I do believe, because a lot of people like that love to, I don't know about you guys, but they love to quote Leviticus, like about like psychics and mediums and stuff like that. I don't think that that verse is wrong. I think there's a lot of phony and fake people that
Oh,
pretend
yes,
to be,
In
absolutely.
all walks
you
of
know,
life.
Yeah.
It's not
like
even
they
in the
pretend to
psychics.
have an ability and they don't. There's people that, so I believe Jesus said that because of people like that, not like people like us that love to heal, that love to help, that
Mm.
love to do that. And but that's how I respond to people like that. I like to you. I don't like I like to kind of make them think, because at the end of the day, someone that's going to argue with me like that, I'm not going to change their mind.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's pointless to argue, but I do like to say things to make them think. Like, did you know about this? Did you know that this wasn't created this way? Jesus never said this. There's no record of this. Like all these things, but they always
Mm.
love to just judge.
I'm interested to know, do you receive any messages from the angels around this subject or around people that unfortunately are just as you described?
Yeah, the angels always bring it back to who taught them that. So
Mm.
whatever pastor or whatever person, they feel like they're being, those are the fake prophets, those are the ones that are doing that. And the angels always tell me that to them it's very sad, because people that teach that, they don't work for Jesus, they work for themselves,
Yeah.
but they make themselves believe they work for Jesus to
Mm.
excuse their behavior. But they're not, they're working for themselves, and they're also spreading hate. They're spreading, like instead of uplifting people, they love to spread hate. And like, if you're not Christian, you're lost, you're not going to heaven. Like, that's not very, united.
Mm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the angels
Division.
always tell me they're lost people, that are being misguided by people that love power, that don't love God, but love power.
Mm.
Yeah. And it is that there's the sense of free will as well. There's only so much that we can do. Like, each one of us is somewhat conditioned or indoctrinated into, like, I guess whether you're brought up Catholic, whether you're brought up Muslim, whether you're brought up, in the Jewish faith, no matter what it is, we're brought into that. Like, I mean, that's part of our human experience to go through that. And then if you can talk to that about that level of how much intervention, like the angels, like both, like, because you're talking in terms of like our angels that are around us, but also the archangels, like what level of influence or how they communicate with us, like how much not that it's control, but influence or guidance can they actually come forward with?
Yeah, they don't, because God gives us free will, they won't intervene on anything to do with our free will, but they'll try to guide you until you make that decision. They'll bring guidance, they'll
Mm.
bring signs, like they'll be like, like for example, when Liz shared her story about going into the store and getting that angel deck, she could have chosen not to, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But she
Yes.
chose to listen to the guidance. She chose to be like, okay, I'll go in there, see what's up. So like it's kind of like that. Like they'll be guiding you towards the best path, but you have to remove your expectations from what you think it's best, because something that they consider that would be a lesson, it's not going to be as good for you, but to your evolution and your well-being, it will be, so it's like, I always tell people, it's connecting with the angels. Angels is the one frequency that it's fully based on faith. There's no practice. There's no like, let me do this, let me meditate. Like, those are all things that can take care of the self-care aspect. But to connect with angels, you must absolutely have faith. And I'm not saying faith like the church says. I'm saying like
Yeah.
faith as like in a connection with them, in a trust with them, like you should have with God. And that is the frequency that will allow you to hear them and kind of be more connected towards hearing where they're trying to guide you towards, because
Yeah.
if they give you a thought, or if they give you a sign and you automatically start doubting it, you start to say, no, that's just luck, or this, whatever, then they're gonna back off, because angels are not forceful. They're not going to force
Mm.
anything to you. So if they see you doubting too much, they're gonna be like, okay, I guess they want to go the hard path, and they'll try again later. They'll try their hardest until you make that decision. um but they will, there's things that they can't intervene in, whether it's like the things that we've created, because people are really quick to tell me like, well, where are all the angels when, I don't know, like some
Mm.
tragedy happens to
Yes.
someone,
Yeah.
and the thing is that we forget that an action that we take as a humanity affects us all. So we tend to forget that we're all linked. So if you're a person that like lives their life in a very like natural way, that's good. But the person that doesn't, it's still gonna have some sort of repercussion on you, because we have to work as a unity, and because there's so much division in the world with all kinds of stuff, that's when all the tragedies or the sicknesses and all of that comes from, is from all the division and all the judgment, all the all the conflict. And that's why I always tell people, it's like, if they could, they would heal us, but there's so much damage that it's already been done. And it's something that they won't intervene on anything that has to follow some sort of natural order. They can protect us at times. Like if there's something that needs, like if there's something out of the ordinary, or something that gets caused by someone else, or like like a dark energy or something, then they will intervene and shift it all. But when it
Yeah.
comes to our choices, they won't. They will never be like, you should do this and this only. No, that they'll give you clues, they'll give you guidance to open up your mind, to be like, to look at that outcome more. Like they'll guide you more towards that, so that you make that decision.
Mm.
Mm. I need to ask this. It's funny because I wondered whether I was going to, so I'm almost going to go into a crisis of faith type mode now. It's like Liz spoke about, like her very beginnings of her experience of being drawn to, to working with the angels and working with angel oracle cards. When I started out as well, it was like my spiritual mentor at the time had suggested I start working with Archangel Michael, and I absolutely loved, like, daily, like not even daily, like, just constant conversations. Just felt like I had this beautiful, beautiful connection. And then at some point, I felt like I was giving my power away. So almost like I was viewing it as a gatekeeper through to, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it the universe, but like that, higher power. And I just seem to have this, like, almost like an allergic reaction, like, just like, oh, I don't want to be giving away my power. And I think part of it was also rooted in my Catholic upbringing. So there
Yeah.
was all this sort of, trying to make sense of something that, in fairness, it's very difficult to make sense of. My little human brain was trying to make sense of all of this. But is there anything you can say to anyone who is maybe having that sort of crisis of faith, whether it is having been brought up with what angels meant to them in a structured, Catholic religion versus, like, even I was feeling guilty at one point in time that I was constantly, on tap. You say they're, the archangels are always available. And it was like, I feel like I'm okay. I've got a hotline to Archangel Michael for all of these questions. Do you have any guidance for people who may be going through? Because I feel a lot of us go through that. Either you're
Mhm.
directly connected and you have that faith, that absolute faith, or you waver up and down and they come in and out of your life. Because there are times I definitely felt that, oh, they're gone. There's no
Yeah.
connection there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened to me once, when like they like to test us,
Mm.
to see if our faith is going to continue. Like,
Yes.
like me, for example, like how, like the way that I explain my abilities, like to me, they look like you guys. Like they look as real as I can see my family with me every day. Like I don't see them inside my head. I see them out there, even dead
Wow.
people.
Yeah.
Like dead people, for example, when I was little, I have to like look down, because dead people to me have no, like, from their knees down, there's nothing there. So that's how I was able to see who was dead and alive. I would look down and be like, okay, they have no feet, they're dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
So angels look like that too, but of course they're huge and above everyone all the time. That's why if you guys see me on the video, like if I look like, it's because I'm always
Yes.
looking at them. Like all my videos, everyone's like, what are you looking at?
Looking up.
Do you have a
Yes.
script? And I'm like, there's no script. It's just I look at them all the time.
It's
Um,
it's funny you say that because even I remember there was one day that you're in my feed, you were on mute. So, but I could see it was like literally just watching the eye movement of what was going on. It was fascinating.
and I think that your question was like, I think it goes two ways. Like, like, have you guys ever also been like, oh wait, I'm talking to Archangel Michael too much. I'm neglecting, like,
Yes,
it goes two
definitely.
ways.
Feel bad.
Or people like to mention everybody, like when you're praying, like, oh, guides, ancestor, archangels, God, Mother
Yeah.
Mary, like, you
Yes.
like to mention everybody. The thing that I like to tell people is that because humanity made a mess of God. And this goes back into ancient civilization because if you look at, there's a record of angels everywhere. Ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient like in Peru, um, everywhere there's a record with people with wings. With beings with
Yes.
wings, stuff like
Mm.
that. And I think that because people made such a mess of God, God had to say, okay, I need to like make so many ways for people to come back to me. So for example, if you're talking to Archangel Michael all the time, Archangel Michael, you're gonna notice, or your own angels, they're never gonna want your attention. They're gonna redirect it back to God. They're always gonna take you back to source, back to that the main source of power. And and whenever you go in that wave, it's
Yeah.
because to me this world, it's designed to take us out of the faith frequency. The moment you drive, the moment you have to take care of your kids, the moment you have to pay a bill, like all of these
Yeah.
things, it's designed to take you out of that faith frequency. So it's normal to stay out of the faith frequency. But I always like to tell my students, not more than a minute, and then go back in and then go back into connection. Because in those moments, if you stay too long out of the faith frequency, your first thought it's going to be, I'm disconnected, or they're abandoned me, or I'm blocked. Your angels
Mm.
never leave you. They're always there. It's just that three frequencies are going to keep you away from them, and those are worries, fears, and doubts. Those three frequencies are going to clog the connection, so you're going to feel them further. You're going to feel them like you're not going to hear them. You're not going to do that and stuff like that. And that's my biggest thing. That's my biggest issue with religion, is that the angels call religion the lazy way to a God connection, because it
Oh,
does it
wow.
for you. It does it for you. They tell you what to pray, what to do, when to not, how to dress, how they tell you everything. Spirituality, consciousness, you learn that yourself. You
Yeah.
figure that out yourself, who God is, who your angels are. You figure everything out in your own experience. And that's the biggest thing, is that I feel like the church set us up into this way of like thinking that there's all these things we have to do, and to me it's misguided. It's more about understanding, like, okay, I'm not feeling my angels today. I'm not sensing them, but that's okay, they're there and I love them, and I'm going to talk to them even if I sound like a crazy person. Like, I'm going to do that. So it's like never giving up. It's part of having faith, because
Yeah.
faith is blind. So like they're gonna do things like that, because especially when it comes to angels, like we have to remember that angels give up a frequency that it's so euphoric that if you were to be with them all the time, it kind of makes you not want to be here. It makes you feel like
Yes.
when you
It just
come
feels
back,
too
you're like,
nice.
right, like
Yes.
or when you're like meditating with them and then you come back and you're like, oh man, I'm just out of here. So like that's why they're very cautious with the way that they work, you know what I mean, the way that they feel. The reason why I think they've never given me an answer, because they even loved for me to have faith all the time, the reason why I think I have this ability is because I fix a lot of the mess the church did. That's one of my main things, is like, for some reason, God sends me all these people that reconnect back to him through angels, or reconnect back through their faith through angels.
Yes.
Mm.
So I fix a lot of things like that. So I think that's why my ability is so intense. It's because I connect people back to faith. So maybe that's why I'm meant to see them all the time. But even with me, there's times where like, like I hear them all the time, but I'm so used to them that it doesn't bother me anymore. So I can right now I can be talking to you guys, and they're still here. They're talking, but I learned to be at two places at once, I guess.
Mm. Yeah.
Because since I was little, because a lot of people that are spiritual tell me like, well, you can turn yourself off or this and that. I'm like, I know, but to me, it feels like if I turn myself off, in a weird way makes me feel like I'm disrespecting God because God created me perfectly, with these abilities.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
don't turn myself off, but it doesn't conflict with my life. Like it doesn't distract me. I can drive, I can do anything, I'm not gonna, you know, do anything like that. But it's just something that the frequency of faith is something that we all must work on to achieve, I think, spiritual enlightenment. Like I think faith is the one, because faith, when I talk about faith, it's kind of like jumping off of the cliff and trusting your God or your angels are going to catch you. Like
Yes.
that's the type of faith I talk about. But religion doesn't teach you that. They comes with conditions. It comes with exchanges, and there's no exchange process with your angels. They don't require anything from us other than us, trusting them.
Mm. God, so much has gone through my head as you were you were just saying everything there. All of the stories and the things that used to happen to me have been flooding back. But I find it really interesting. You mentioned the feeling of angels, this euphoric, that really beautiful high feeling of, to me, it's like that pure love, and it is so expansive. I remember early on in my journey going from someone that, had never believed anything, to suddenly this introduction. It was almost like I feel the angels were allowing me to receive this feeling quite often in the beginning. So I was able to start to trust, to have the faith. And that used to be tested with me. I remember, the first few huge signs that the doubt would come up, and I'd be like, nah, no chance, that didn't happen. And then a second thing would happen just to kind of prove the first one right. And I started to associate when these signs happened with a feeling, and that feeling
Yeah.
was really high. And I remember one day I was going through, I don't know, probably boyfriend trouble in my early 20s, and I was in a really hard place. But luckily, I'd been leaning on my angels quite a lot. But I did have a couple of days where things stopped, and that feeling stopped. And I was not happy. I'm like, well, I've obviously just made up this whole thing, and this is not true. And then I went to work that day, and I think I've shared this story on the podcast before, and I was not very happy with my angels. And I stood on the platform waiting for the train, and in my head, I was like, you don't even exist. This is all a lot of crap. If you exist, you need to tell me you exist. You prove yourself right now. And no joke, at that very moment, something blew against my leg in the wind. And I looked down, and it was a page from a book. And I picked up the page, and the chapter title was God Exists.
Hmm.
And the feeling that I got in that moment, it was almost like I was so high, I wanted to scream it to every passenger stood on that platform, like, oh my God, this is true. This is true.
Yeah.
And it probably sounded like a nutcase to my friends and my family. They were like, what is happening with Liz right now? But do you think that that's what happens? It's like when you first get introduced, for our listeners listening, and this might be the first introduction, what should they do? What should they look out for?
Well, there's two things that go on with that. One is that your body adjusts to that frequency. So
Mm.
you're gonna notice that, like,
Mm.
why am I not crying now that I'm feeling my angels? You know what I mean? Like, so your body adjusts to the frequency. So then people right away think about, if you're lacking faith, you're gonna go into like, I'm blocked or something's wrong, instead of just being like, oh, I'm good, like they're just, like it's just because their goal is, because your angels are your own, they're only with you, they're only managing you. So when you connect with them, their goal is to kind of create a merge between you and them. So then you don't really are feeling them all the time, because you're trusting that they're always there, they're
Mm.
always guiding you. So the feeling of euphoria, you do get used to them. The ones you don't get
Mm.
used to are the higher divine beings like Jesus. Like that
Yeah.
one, that I can never get used to. Every time Jesus comes
Ooh.
through for me, I'm like, okay, what do I do?
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, but it's your body adjusts to the frequency. And then for everybody that's kind of going through that, it's something that I always tell people is connecting with your angels should be a lifestyle, not a hobby. Because if you treat it as a hobby, then you will outgrow it really quickly. But if you treat it as a lifestyle, you're gonna notice that you're gonna go through more teachings, more evolution and stuff like that. And it should be something that you embody, something that it's always within you, not only when you need something, not only when you're lacking something, but it's always within you, so like that's something that I always tell people is everyone has a soul. Just because I have these abilities, everyone has a soul. A soul connects you to energy, connects you to vibration. Your angels are energy, so you are able to connect with them. You are able to feel them. You just have to also do a little bit of the work and continue to trust, continue to feel that energy.
Oh, I love that way. The way that you've just explained that then was perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah, so beautiful. Um, Danny, is there anything like we are in, you know, Earth right now, just, like everything that we're going through in this world right now, are there any commonality in the messages that you're receiving or any of the guidance that you're tuning into that's kind of on behalf of the collective or on behalf of humanity that that we would benefit from hearing, that our listeners would benefit from hearing?
Well, the biggest message that I've been getting lately is the angels are saying that there's some sort of like epidemic of negativity going around that's
Mm,
trying to infect everybody. So the angels were telling me to say, be careful what you think you're passionate about or what you think you're defending. Be careful to the point where it doesn't take you to engage with negativity, you know because there's a big shift going on in the collective where like God wants people to be more spiritual, God wants people to be more enlightened, but there's also a resistance from people that are not in that frequency, that don't trust that frequency, that want to stay in a low vibration, and their influence. There's duality, there's good and evil, and
yeah,
evil, just like there's angels, there's these other things that go and guide people in a different way, go and create the darkness. And right now the angels were saying like the one of the biggest messages, because I've been seeing a lot of like mental health problems going on. I've been seeing like a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I've been seeing so much of that in clients. A lot of like resets, like divorce or breakups,
yeah,
like lots of resets and stuff. And God was, like the angels were saying that God's trying to do that so that we take the opportunity to not be infected by negativity and kind of rise above it, kind of like continue to grow that, especially here in the US. There's so much darkness going on right now that is trying to infect people in the way of like the news or TV. They try to
yeah,
get you there. And that's some, like I always tell people, be careful how you let those things infect you, like
yeah,
don't let it infect you, because they're gonna put something that you're not gonna agree with. But if you engage with it, you're letting that infect you and then bring emotions and bring sometimes even actions that you're not going to like. But it's all part of this like divine cleanup that's happening right now, like
yes,
a lot of
yeah,
cleaning that's going on, which I'm excited about. Like it's really cool. But I think that um something that I keep seeing, that it's a lot of people that are stuck, and they don't know how to get unstuck because they're not making the choices to evolve. So there's a lot of that
yeah,
I keep seeing around.
Mm.
yeah.
What can
I
our
I think
listeners,
that's so
sorry, you go, Diane.
I think that's so important because I guess what I was reflecting on while you were saying that, Danny, was at the very beginning talking about almost like humanity's need to categorize things. So if I'm right, then you're wrong. If this is good, then this is bad. Oh, you're an archangel. Oh, you're Archangel Michael, therefore you must be blue. It's like we just have this need to put things into boxes. Whereas if
Right.
we are able to come from a place of love and awe and joy and those kind of higher frequencies and stop consuming all of the negativity, that we will be like, it's almost like that need to put things into boxes allows, the broader forces at play to be able to pit us against one another, or for us to think, well, I'm in this category, therefore you're in this category, therefore we can't be friends, or we can't. It's the more we can just tap into, let go of the categorization as much as
Right.
possible,
Yeah.
and just, exactly what you've done. It's boil it down to, here are your archangels, here are the ones that, your collective,
Yeah.
angels that are around you as well. The simpler we can make things and just sit
Right.
in those higher frequencies, have faith in the higher frequencies.
Because I think everyone holds some sort of mission that God gives, especially in the spiritual world. For example, me, I teach what I teach, but I cannot cater to 8 billion people. You know what I mean? 8 billion people are not going to believe everything I have to teach, but there's going to be people that resonate with everything that God wants me to teach. And that's exactly what they need. Everyone requires different energy to live. Everyone requires different beliefs, different everything to be happy to live. There's people in the spirit world that they're like, oh, evil doesn't exist. I'm like, good for you. You love that you don't think that, but I do, and I go fight it. So, like, there's so many different categories, but I always tell people, make your own puzzle. Take puzzle
Mm.
pieces from everybody and make your own, because at the end of the day, the angels or me, we don't care which way you get to God. We just want you there.
Oh
Whether
yeah.
it's religion, whether it's this way, that way, we don't care as long as you're there. And but I think that there's so many people on the opposite side that do. They
Yeah.
care you follow their own teachings, their own beliefs, their own colonization. And that's something, I think that's where and they don't remember that that's why Jesus died, but they love to worship him and talk about him. So like that's something that I think it's very hypocritical. But
Yeah.
whether you're this way, whether you're that way, you have angels. Angels don't follow based on beliefs. They follow based on God tells them to. And
Yeah.
it's something that I always tell people. It's like, it doesn't matter if you believe them or if you believe in angels or not, you're still going to have them. They're still going to take care of you. Because a lot of people ask me, like, well, what about really evil people? Well, they're not really going to hear them or listen to them, but they'll
No.
still have
They're
them.
there.
Yeah. Oh, for anyone listening right now that might have be in that stuck place or in a hard, tough time with mental health, or everything that you've said kind of is the theme that's coming up for you at the moment, what advice do you have for them on how they can bring in the angels and start to work with them to kind of leave that behind?
I always call it do more God. And to me, it's the more the merrier, like meditation, breath work, prayer,
Mm.
go get a sound bath, listen to a book, a podcast, the more the merrier that you can do things that open up your frequency, the better. The worst thing you can do is do nothing. Think that something's gonna drop. It's the same thing with love when people are like, well, how am I gonna find someone? Gotta go out, like can't just stay at home and think someone's gonna drop out of the sky. It's the same thing with the mental health stuff. I always tell people, like, go for it. If you haven't to me, what heals mental health a lot is spirituality, is a connection to God. So I think that that's the biggest thing that you can do, but a true connection with God where you feel like your father, your creator, loves you no matter what, not someone that is a jealous God, an angry God. No, that's not who God is. God is pure love, and he loves you just like you would love your own children, just like you would love your pets. God loves you exactly the same. You're perfect to him. To the angels, you're perfect. And that's what I want people to know. It's like God is not this evil tyrant that sometimes, these people try to make him seem. No, he's pure love. He wants you to trust him. He wants you to know that he's your father. He doesn't want you to have daddy issues. He wants you to have a good connection with him. And that's where So if you're struggling with that, I always tell people do more things, invest in yourself, invest in your well-being, in your evolution.
Mm,
And you're never gonna regret that.
Oh, I love
yeah.
it. Danny, you're an angel medium, and I have to ask, you mentioned that you do see us with Archangel Michael, but do you receive any messages as we sit here from the angels for Diana or I?
With Diana, I kept seeing like you have a lot of energy from the Holy Mother. So she like brings a lot of energy. And then you have this lady that's like very Catholic. She's dead, and she looks really little to me, like really like a very strong mother figure. And I think the reason why I think she was very Catholic is because I even see her wearing like those things in her head, with like the prayer shawls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, she comes from your mom's side of the family, and she's very
Mm.
protective of you. She says that she had a gift of her own, she says, but she was too afraid to use it. She was too afraid to develop it. So she's so happy that you're doing this, that you're creating this, she says. And then there's this other lady, but she looks more elegant to me. She just came through right now. And she comes from your dad's side of the family. She's more elegant, more like she's very motherly. She's very like protective. She loves you so much. Like she's all over you. And she wants you to know that she's never left you, that she's always with you. There's something about the ocean with her. Like she says that she connects
Mm.
with you when you go to the ocean, when you look at the ocean, she says. So she wants you to know that she's there. She says that you need to continue to do, and this is, I think, for both of you, because I'm seeing some sort of like, I don't know if you guys are planning on doing like a conference or something where it becomes like where I see people surrounding. And I see like different things that are gonna come forward and stuff like that. I would look into England. Okay, like there's something about
Ooh.
England that shines really bright for you guys.
Ooh.
If you ever want to like do some events there, or some growth there for some reason, there's something there that brings a lot of energy. And of course, Australia too. Like that's something that's really big for you guys's growth. But I kept seeing that it has a lot of wide energy, which to me it feels like it's some sort of healing event, like it's some sort of like thing like that comes forward. And they want to make sure that you guys continue to navigate these things slowly. And then with Diane, I keep seeing a book for some reason too. Like there's this book that's surrounding her energy a lot. So I don't know if you've been thinking about writing anything, or you're kind of like, doing something like that, because it surrounds you a lot with it. With Liz, you have a lot of angel energy. So like you should really become more of a connection with them, own more of that frequency. Um, they want to make sure that you're continuing to open up. And the reason why, it's because you have a child, I think it's a girl, that has a very strong sensitivity, and it's going to continue to grow. And and introducing her more towards like the angels is going to be like the best thing ever for her.
Oh my God.
Um,
Made me cry.
so so they want to make sure that you know that you're holding that frequency really strongly. And they want to make sure, with you, they're saying that there's like this shifting that they're trying to do, because they're saying that you it's almost like I feel like you need to be doing more. Like you need to be doing more. Like, like I have all these ideas, but how do I get there? And they're saying that you need to be a little bit more patient and understand that everything's kind of falling in its own path. With you, for some reason, and I don't know if this is the same thing, because with you, I started to see like healing events, like I don't know if it's retreats or something like that, where like I kept seeing it linked to people like healing and letting things out, like very connected to the ocean energy too with you. And they want to make sure that you're focusing. They're saying to focus on one thing at a time and to finish
Oh
it.
God.
To not
That's
bring
very hard for me.
They're saying don't bring anything else up that's gonna block you from currently finishing one of the things that you need to do and stuff like that. Like they just want to make sure that you're continuing to develop that, like continue to do that. And then there's something like to do with like, I mean, it's kind of similar to what you guys are doing, but it felt like very like talk show related. So I don't know if you guys ever think about doing like a TV or like a something online, like it's more like a talk show where you like it feels really cool. Like it has a lot of energy there, which I think that there's a lot of things that you guys can start to navigate, you know, in that field and stuff like that.
Oh, we've always wanted to do that. Always.
We even spoke about that 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like
really? Yeah.
literally spoke about it again, and it's like it keeps circling back. But yeah, divine timing. Maybe we're just waiting for the right thing to come through.
Yeah, I
Wow.
I think everything's kind of situating their self together and stuff like that. And they just want to make sure that you guys are kind of navigating that little by little. And everything feels just really it feels really good for some reason to go towards that side.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. That was amazing. Do you know
We
what?
both had tears in our eyes.
I mean, I'm going to actually book a reading with you now because I feel like I've got so many things to talk about and there's definitely not enough time. And I'm sure all the listeners would get very bored of all my questions about that. But thank you, Dany. Honestly, that entire conversation was super interesting. It definitely has made me feel really encouraged to build that connection again because it has been missing for a little while with me, although I do talk to the angels still daily. Um,
Mm.
People are going to be so interested to obviously find out more about you, and we will share all of your details in the show notes. Is there anything coming up that you just feel the need to share with our audience?
Let's see. Well, like events.
Anything that pops up for
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I kind of feel called to sharing the way that I work with my readings. My readings are very different. Like they're like it's like a mixture of everything, but the way that what you just are gonna it's like a therapy session also. They're very therapeutic. We tell you everything. Your angels know everything because they're with you all the time. So I just get to translate their messages and kind of tell you what they want you to do, what moves, what opportunities, everything like that. And like I do retreats. There's a retreat coming up in Sedona, which is like this very magical spiritual place here on the
Yes,
Wow.
it's been calling to me.
Oh,
yeah, and it's full of like red rock, which is it has energy vortex all around. And there's our spiritual retreat that I'm doing there in October. But I think that, what I want to share with everyone is just understanding like your angels need a little bit of your acknowledgement, your permission to kind of start to work more with you. So if you're listening to this episode and you just feel called to like do a small prayer tonight, ask them to come forward, ask them to bring you signs, to reveal themselves more, tell them you're ready to work with them. There's nothing negative that's going to come from your angels, and it's only going to be all positive. It's going to be a lot of like positive energy and guidance that they're going to bring forward. But I think I just want people to know that they're always there. They never leave you. Spirit guides come and go. Angels never leave. Angels are always with you. They're, like your loved ones too, your dead relatives can go and be with you one time and then not and stuff like that. But the angels are always with you. There's not a moment where they'll leave your side and always be protecting you.
oh, what a message to finish off on. Thank you so much. That's been incredible.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy I'm here.
Oh, that's
Oh, thank you,
amazing.
Dany.
Thank you. And for everyone listening, I'm sure you enjoyed that just as much as us. And yeah, definitely go and follow Dany on Instagram, especially because there's some awesome videos that he puts out there constantly. And yeah, we will share all of the information of that retreat as well. So we will see you next time.
If you have enjoyed this episode or are a die-hard fan of the show, make sure to subscribe right now so you don't miss out on future episodes. And to share the love, you can give us an awesome 5-star review.
Help us create a world that is spiritual as fuck.